About a month ago, I recorded an episode with Anne Abel about her book, High Hopes, a memoir. I had only read the first chapter or two when I talked to Anne, and we had a wonderful conversation. Since then, I finished the book and I fell in love with it. She is going to come back on the podcast and we're going to go into a more in depth discussion of the book. But today's episode is my initial interview with her. And I just wanted to share the review I wrote about her book. Anne Abel had endured one too many desks thrown in her classroom, so she walked out and swore she'd never return. The moment of defiance became the first step in a journey she shares in her powerful new memoir, High Hopes. Anne discovered Bruce Springsteen not just as a musician, but as a lifeline. Her first concert at 59 wasn't just her first Springsteen show, it was her first concert ever. I often say there are two kinds of people: those who leave their first Springsteen concert saying, "Boy, that was long," and those who say, "When can I do this again?" Anne is firmly in the second camp. That night changed her life. Battling lifelong depression, Anne made the bold decision to travel solo to Australia for 8 Springsteen concerts across 5 cities in 26 days. This book chronicles that adventure. From meeting Bruce's co manager, Barbara Carr, to staying at the same hotel as the E Street Band, to getting stranded after a show when her driver lost track of time. Anne's story is raw, real, and deeply inspiring. She discovers strengths she didn't know she had. She finds community in unexpected places, and she reminds us that sometimes chasing the music leads us back to ourselves. I loved this book. I loved being part of Anne's journey. She's a total badass, and I hope to meet her at a future Springsteen show because Bruce says it ain't no sin to be glad you're alive. Here is the interview with Anne Abel, and please go buy the book. Whether you're a Springsteen fan or just someone who's wanting to hear a story of redemption and triumph, you'll love it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of Set Lusting Bruce, your podcast all about Bruce Springsteen, his music, and mostly his fans. I am your host, Jesse Jackson. I have a wonderful new friend who we've had so much trouble mixing up schedules and doing, but we are finally together. Welcome to Set Lusting Bruce. Please introduce yourself and tell us a little about yourself.
My name is Anne Abel. At the age of 59, I had never been to a concert. Then my son and daughter-in-law, a second-generation Springsteen fan, came to Philadelphia where we lived at the last minute, Labor Day weekend 2012, to see a Bruce Springsteen concert, a man I knew nothing about. Originally, I said I didn't want to go, but at the last minute, I went just to spend time with them. And as I suffer with severe depression, and that summer I had undergone my third regimen of ECT, electroconvulsive shock therapy, so I did not remember the July wedding of my son and daughter-in-law. So as we waited for 2 hours, and I don't wait for 2 hours for anything, as we were waiting for 2 hours for the concert to begin, and I didn't even notice the time had been flying, they were showing me thousands of photos from the wedding on their iPhone. And then suddenly the crowd mysteriously rose in unison, and I rose too. And up on the screen was the face of a man with the biggest, kindest smile I had ever seen. And for the next 3+ hours, that man's energy, humanity, and enthusiasm lifted me. For 3+ hours, Bruce Springsteen made me feel like I had a chance. He made me feel alive. The following Saturday, my husband and I went to Chicago to see him at Wrigley Field. And for the rest of the fall, I went to concerts wherever I could drive to them. A year later, fall 2013 after having one desk too many thrown at me.
Hang on, I'm going to hold off. I'm going to get to that because I have to say this. We're going to go to your beginning, but I do want to say in to parody Davy Crockett. At one point, you said, "Y'all can go to hell, and I'm going to Australia to attend a Bruce concert." Because he's famously had said, "You guys can go to hell, and I'm heading to Texas," when he didn't make it. So let's start at the beginning. You, one of the first questions I always ask Anne is, what kind of music were you listening to when you grew up? And you've already answered that in the book. You didn't listen to music.
And
Tell me
I
that story.
and there's something else I didn't put in the book, but because I didn't think of it till after the fact.
Yeah,
In 1964, when 73 million people tuned in to watch the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show, 12-year-old me was not one of them. I turned on the television and my mother said, "Turn it off. It's a waste of time. Go upstairs and do something constructive." We looked like a nice middle class Jewish family, but it was my father was a professor, my mother a guidance counselor, but it was a cult. And everything I thought, said, and did was scripted by my parents, and all I wanted was to be accepted and loved by them. There was no rebellion in me. I just wanted to do everything they told me to do and hope that they would finally take me into their family, which never happened. So, music, and then I just suffered with terrible depression. I married a great guy. I had three great kids, but every day was a struggle for me, every single day. I ended up having electroconvulsive shock therapy, three regimens of that. I was
yeah.
hospitalized twice. I was severely depressed.
And you mentioned that it was the cult. Did they just not believe in pop culture?
No,
I've talked to people whose parents only loved classical music, or they only, but just,
no, my mother was, when she, no, they were very hardworking, very smart. They
yeah.
were very smart people, but my mother bought a Valiant that in 1964, and she was proud that she didn't put a radio in there.
You
You
mentioned that
know,
in the book, and I was
yeah.
like, oh, we're going to have a fun discussion.
And I just, if it's not, and then I went to college, my father at the last minute, and I won't go into the details of that now, but I can't add three numbers together. And senior year, I'm applying to colleges, and he appears in my bedroom. He never spoke to me. He didn't care about me. He showed up and he said, "Your mother tells me you're not taking math this year. If you don't make up for that, your life won't be worth living. You're going to take calculus this summer, and if you want us to pay for college, you'll go to engineering school and major in chemical engineering." I'm not going to go into that here, why he said that. I did it. I really can. It's a joke in my family that I was an engineer. I can't add three numbers, but forget my dorm mates. They were probably going to concerts. I don't know. I was just trying to get through. I was,
Did is the did you have a learning disability, or did you
no, some people are good at some things.
things and I've just
Care about math. Still to this day, I don't care. My computer, just, I don't want to, I don't care about those things. I
so
have, my husband's an economist. I have three math children.
yeah.
I don't care about, no, it was not I have no learning disability.
Okay. So
No,
the reason I was laughing is that like I got to be really good friends with a woman I worked with, and we joked we could never be married because like back in the day when you used to balance a checkbook, if it got within 30 bucks, yep, done. Move it.
right,
And she's
right.
the one who would spend 8 hours looking
No,
for the
that's my
off two
husband.
pennies,
Right.
right?
Yes, yes.
So if you had your own way, you would have pursued something else,
I
correct?
probably,
Education?
high school, I'm 16, so didn't have my life mapped out. I figured I'd major in history,
Yeah.
maybe English, probably history. I hadn't thought, and the other thing was, but so they also said, starting when I was 11, this is part of the cult. Starting when I was 11, my mother began saying to me, "If you don't marry someone Jewish, I will disown you." I didn't know exactly what disown meant, but I could tell from her voice that it wasn't good. And I would imagine myself floating alone in a dark outer space. So I went to college to major in chemical engineering. Well, I'm not sure, to major in two things, chemical engineering and finding a Jewish husband. To my credit, I let them bully me into majoring in chemical engineering. And she tried, there were boys that she wanted me to marry. I broke up with this one guy. He was a med student,
Hmm.
and he lived in Boston where we lived. And when I broke up with her, she said, "You're self-destructive. That's why you broke up with him. There's nothing wrong with him. It's your problem." But fortunately, somehow deep down inside me, I knew they could make me major in chemical engineering, but I needed to marry someone for me, not for them. So thank goodness I did that right. Because to
And
deal with both of those things
yeah.
would have been, I didn't
So,
have to.
Anne, were you not, because of the cult, in your words, not mine, and your desire to be loved and accepted by your family, you didn't have that rebel streak where you were listening to pop
No,
music
oh
in
my
high school
God,
or behind their
no.
backs?
I did nothing behind their back. Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing. I was such a good girl. All I wanted to do, and that's not unusual for abused children
Yeah.
to think, to just want to please their parents. That's just not unusual at all.
Yeah. I I had a very volatile mom. One of her favorite phrases was, "I'd kill you if I could afford to bury you."
Oh God.
I thought that was normal,
Well,
and
okay. Yeah,
right?
that's what I mean. You
Yeah,
don't
you just
know.
no, it's just that's normal. And
Exactly.
and I told that to my adult friend once, and he went, "My parents have said some crappy things to me. They've never been that crappy."
But you
And
don't know. You don't
no,
know.
you don't know, Anne. You
Right,
don't.
exactly.
All right, so you find the right guy. You're going through.
I have
So
three great kids.
yeah,
Everything's great except me. I just felt like I had nothing. And then I hated engineering. Then I got an MBA at the University of Chicago. That wasn't for me. And then I was floundering. I ended up getting an MFA in creative writing in my mid 40s at the New School here in New York.
okay,
And that was me. That was me. I could write, an editor would say, write 5,000 words about that tree in your backyard. He'd have it the next day. But if I looked at that tree and thought, I love that tree, I want to write about it, after 1 minute, I would be under the desk
okay.
saying, so what? Who cares? This is stupid.
Wow. Why do you think that
Because I was
switch?
at the dinner table every night, my father would say, "You can listen, but don't speak." Until the days each of them died 4 years ago, they told me not to speak to them because I had nothing interesting to say. That's what I was brought up with. So that's the voice that is inside your head.
The when and I've had not as severe depression as you, but I've had little touches of it. And one of the things that I'm shocked about is, and I'd love for you to talk a little bit more, is I am lazy. What brings me joy is reading, listening to music. My wife is a little bit like you, right? Like she's in a bad mood, get on the bike, start riding, go out in the woods, walk around. You didn't exercise for fitness. This was your medicine. Can you tell me a little bit about that, Anne?
It wasn't all. I tried over 20 antidepressants, but
Yeah.
the only thing, and to this day, I am so much better today. I can't,
Okay.
my parents died for, but still, I wake up every morning and I feel like shit. I feel like a loser. And I turn off my brain. I'm 72, so there are times when different parts aren't working. But
Yes.
when my body is in shape, and every morning after breakfast, I say to my husband, "Oh my God, I feel so bad." And he says, "This is the worst part of your day." And every day I get on the elliptical or the bike, and every day it helps, but it is so deep in me. The feeling is so horrible that even though every day it helps, I stand there before I get on, climb up on the elliptical, and I don't believe it's going to work. And every day I have to say to myself, okay, just look at this like an experiment. Just do it and see if it helps. Because I just the chemistry and just the
Yeah.
circuitry is so hardwired in there. And now that I'm doing much better, finally at the age of 72, I get off there and I'm fine. I can deal with my
Yeah.
day. Before this, before I went to Australia on this trip, I would get on there and maybe I'd be okay for 10 minutes, sometimes an hour, sometimes two,
Hmm.
sometimes 15 minutes. I mean,
Yeah.
I would do it because something is better than nothing. And I am the only non-negative word my parents ever used to describe me was persevering. And I will do anything if I think it might help me, whether it's go to a psychiatric
Yeah.
hospital, get EC. I do things that terrify me if I think they might help me.
Yeah. The name of the book is High Hopes by Anne Abel. One of the things you talked about when you were raising your children, that it the way some people would have an afternoon cup of coffee to beat the mid-afternoon doldrums, right? Oh, you would exercise in the morning so that you could take the kids to school, and then you would have to exercise again to almost the same way oh, I need a shot of Joe, need some caffeine to be able to pick them up for school. What about exercise helped you with that?
I think it's endorphins, number one.
Okay.
Once, like by exercising at 2 o'clock before I went to pick them up, then it boosted I love the highlight of my day was spending time with my kids, ferrying them around. I
Yeah.
love that was wonderful for me. And I would get this energy and I would be able to be with them. I was never the depressed mother who they came home and I was in bed. That just was never
Yeah.
my MO. I used up a lot of body parts working out twice a day. I wrecked my shoulder swimming. I had three rotator cuff surgeries, but
Yeah.
I did it twice. I did it twice
Mhm.
a day.
So, one of the questions I normally ask is, can you remember when you discovered Bruce Springsteen and what about him spoke to you? You gave a short version of that at the beginning, and I loved it. But can you expand a little bit? And I don't want to give away everything in the book, but the idea that you had gone, and for those of people who don't understand, can you talk about the electric treatments and why that is recommended and what that did?
Electroconvulsive therapy, ECT, it's a very old treatment. They've made it better. It used to be really barbaric, but basically they shoot shock electricity through your brain, triggers seizures, and that's supposed to help over a period of time. And I did this twice, like two regimens, and probably 12 episodes.
Okay.
And I didn't have any side effects. It helped for a year. I went back, I did it again. And then the year before this trip, High Hopes is about this trip I took to follow the High Hopes tour in Australia in 2014. 2 years before that, I had outpatient ECT and
Right.
it wiped out my memory and I developed this horrible atypical jaw pain. It took 24/7. Your jaw is just throbbing. Someone said go to a pain doctor. I had never heard of a pain doctor. And right away he said, oh, I once worked at an ECT clinic. They put this bite in your mouth so that when the shock goes through and you clench, you
Mhm.
don't ruin your jaws, but sometimes it doesn't work. So I had tried everything. I won't go through all the modalities of things I tried, but ECT, this is pretty drastic. You don't
Yeah,
know.
it sounds like it.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
the third time, I lost my memory. I didn't remember my kid's wedding. I had
I
this
mean,
job.
that is heartbreaking because I'm reading the book and you're talking about your daughter-in-law saying, and I'm going to let you see my wedding dress. And I'm like, oh, that's good. They're planning the wedding. And then you realize, no, the wedding's already happened. So you mentioned, was she the second generation Springsteen
Yes,
fan?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
And so where did you see him the first time?
At Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia.
Okay. Because you mentioned that going to the ball game with your children was something
Mm.
you guys enjoyed.
Yeah, I love my family and being with
Yes.
them. So going to that stadium to see the concert, I hadn't been there since these baseball games. So it just conjured up
Yeah.
all sorts of good things.
Looking back, why do you think you made that first step to go to the show? What do you think?
I will tell you, first, when they called up, said, can we come this weekend at the last minute? I'm like, I would be thrilled if you would come. Do you want to
Yeah,
see a concert? Why would I want to go at 7 o'clock when I go to bed to go see this guy? I'm sure I'd heard of him, but
yeah.
whatever, you know.
Come on. Yeah,
So but Sunday morning, so they get there Saturday, the concert Sunday night. Sunday morning, I get on my bike. My husband had put golden oldies. He likes golden oldies on my headset. I'm pedaling away. My or endorphins are flowing. And I'm thinking, that's when I felt my best. I thought, you know what? I want to go to this concert to spend time with my kids.
yeah.
And that was the only reason I went was to
Didn't
spend
matter about the
time.
band. This is just
No,
okay.
who was
I
he? I didn't
I don't
care.
care. I just get to
Right.
visit on the way and there. Okay, that's
Right. And
perfect.
I was already dreading it by the time we were going there. But I just went to be with them.
Yeah.
That was the only reason.
And a common cliche is, and I say this is not the standard cliche, right? But I say there are two types of people in the world. The people go to a Bruce show and go, wow, that was long. And the people that go to that show and say, oh my God, when can I do this again? And I am fascinated by someone who not a fan of music, didn't grow up with any thoughts, and the way you described, you were captivated before there was one note. Talk to me about
Smile.
seeing that
Oh
face.
my God, I'll never, all these moments. So we rise
Please.
up. I've never been to a concert. Really,
Yeah,
everybody just rises up. We're in the third tier of a four-tier stadium. And I just look up, and on this giant screen is this face with this smile. Oh my God, I had never seen a smile like that. And then I look down at the stage, and this man is just tapping and strumming. And oh my God, from all the way down there, I could tell the energy of this man. It just radiated from down there all the way up to me. And I could just see there was no place else in the world, it seemed, that this man wanted to be than right here with me, with us doing this. And it felt so good to be with someone who wanted to be with me and the other 40,000 people around me. It just felt so good. Not to mention the energy. Oh my God, the energy of that man. I felt alive. I had never felt the way I felt at that concert. And I didn't understand the lyrics.
yeah. I
My
didn't know a
husband's like,
song.
how can you like songs if you don't know the words? And the music just filled me and lift it. I just felt it. I just felt it.
My wife for the longest time would be, I don't get Bruce. I can't understand anything he's saying. He growls. And I told her, I said, okay, what I want you to do is quit trying to understand the words. Just think of his voice as another musical instrument and just feel the emotion of all the musical instruments and his voice. And that was the key to her starting to get that. And Bruce is famous for saying, is anyone alive out
Oh
there?
my God, I love that.
And
Yes.
it I grew up in a very conservative Baptist family. And the idea of the New Testament with Jesus making a clay, putting it on a blind man's eyes and they could see. I see the feeling of Anne, of you. It was like a veil opened up and you saw color. It's Wizard of Oz, right?
Yeah.
You're all of a sudden, you leave Kansas, you're in the Oz and you go, oh my goodness.
It was just, and I'm telling you, these concerts when I went to Australia, they were transformative. Some of those songs were just transformative for me. In Sydney, he did a solo encore of Dream Baby Dream. Growing up, I had never been allowed to dream. I never even thought about it. I was so busy doing everything my parents that I was told to do that I never thought about what I wanted to do or B. I was once at a John Oliver show in the front row, and he pointed at me, spotlight and all, and asked me what I had dreamt about as a kid. And I
Yeah.
didn't want to ruin his show. I just nodded. But that night in Sydney, watching Bruce Springsteen sing Dream Baby Dream, I felt as if he were imploring himself to dream. And the music just filled me and lifted me, and I floated. I remember it like it was yesterday, floating out of that arena, feeling as if I could dream. Now, it didn't happen right away, but
Yeah.
I believe that once you feel something, you can try, it's easier to recreate it. I mean, it was just like I'm just standing there and I'm watching this man sing, and it just went right into me and moved me.
So I remember when they released Dream Baby Dream and the video that went with it, where they Tom Zimini and they're showing all the fans. And I said that captures just the feeling of being in a Bruce show. And it is the past three times I've been looking for a job. I play Dream Baby Dream on repeat in my car on the way to the interview, right? It is one of our family theme songs. All right, so I'm going to set the stage and I'm going to sound like I'm just I'm incredibly confused and aghast that you're teaching not at an inner city high school. You're not teaching at a juvenile facility like a prison. You're in a community college
In Philadelphia.
in Philadelphia.
Mhm.
But this is a college where people have to pay to go.
Oh,
And if
yeah.
you don't mind, I don't want to spoil the first chapter, but we're going to. Can you tell the however you want to tell that led you to said, F it,
Yeah,
I
I
gotta get
had
out of
worked there
town.
for 5 years and I loved it. It gave me purpose. I loved it. Every semester, I'd find a couple students who thought there was something there that could help them. It gave me energy. This one year, I had the class from hell, and I
Yeah.
talked to the head of the department. He's just great reports. They'll do, yeah. And he says it happens sometimes. And then one day, it was
No empathy whatsoever.
he said
No
it happens. Go write these reports. There'll be a judiciary meeting. I wrote the reports over the weekend. You know what happened? The day I quit, I show up on Monday. They had sent emails to the three or four students saying, you have a judiciary meeting. So now you've got these angry students, even angrier in six
Yeah.
weeks. So I mean,
Yeah.
so it's Monday morning. They're outside my room and they're like swearing they're going to get me. They come in. It just went from bad to worse.
Yeah.
And then one kid in particular, he had some anger management problem. He would throw desks at me. He didn't like they had those desks with the chairs attached to
Yeah.
the desk. He didn't like that. I said, well, come in early. You can go across the hall like I do, and you can bring in a regular desk. No. So he used to throw them. So
Hmm.
this one day after a series of bad things that happened, and it's 10 of 12, it ends at 12 o'clock or 5 of 12. And as I'm walking back to the front of the room, I feel this desk being thrown towards me.
Oh,
And
wow.
it was just like I walked out the door. It was the first week or two of October. I walk out, the sun is warm, it's noon, it's autumn, the cloud. It was just this
Yeah.
beautiful day. And I just thought, I deserve better than this. I am never coming back here. And but I got in my car. I had this moment of empowerment and then I got in my car and I was panicking because my kids were grown. My husband traveled. I was terrified that without the structure and focus of the classroom, I would be back in the abyss. And I was not doing ECT again. I was 60 years old. I was not
Yeah.
doing any of those things again. And I'm panicking, really panicking. And I needed a lifeline. And then somewhere in all these weeks I'd been doing lesson plans, I'd seen that Bruce Springsteen was going to be touring in Australia in February. And I will tell you, I hate to travel. I hate to be alone. And remember, I hadn't known who this guy was a year earlier. I went home before I took off my coat. I Googled Australia travel agent, wrote to the first five who popped up on the screen, and I hired the first one who called me the next morning. Within a week, the trip was planned. And that was it. Eight concerts, 5 cities over 26 days. And I hate to travel. I hate to be alone. And I was going to the other side of the world to see this guy, to see this guy. And to be honest, a month before the trip, so January 1st, I was leaving him. all of a sudden I couldn't ignore that in exactly 28 days, I would be on a 16-hour flight alone to the other side of the world. And by now I couldn't remember what I liked about Bruce Springsteen. So I sat down and Googled him. And there at the top of the screen was Super Bowl 2009. And I clicked on that. And oh my God, they're on a halftime stage, surrounded by a football field of cheering, clapping fans. Bruce Springsteen took the mic, leaned into the television camera, and said, "Is there anybody alive out there?" Oh my God, chills just went running through me. And that night, I watched it like 6 or 7 times. And I watched it multiple times a day for the next 4 weeks. I remembered when watching that video, I remembered why on the day I quit my job, instinctively, I had decided that this was the lifeline I was going to grab onto.
When I got a chance to go see Bruce in Broadway, I went to my lovely bride. We've been married. We are currently married over 40 years. At the time, about 35, and I said, "I'm going to ask you I need to ask you something and it's okay for you to say no." And she said, "What?" And I'm like, "I have a chance to go see Bruce on Broadway and it's going to be expensive. And are you okay with it?" And she said, "Yes." Did you discuss it with your husband or you just knew
Well, I
this?
came after I wrote to the travel agents. I called my husband, told him I quit. And he's a
Mhm.
professor. He was on sabbatical that year. I said, "Do you want to?" And he said, I understand you were having trouble. I understand why you quit." And I said, "Don't worry, I'm not going back to the hospital. I'm not doing any of that. I'm going
Yeah,
to Australia. Do you want to go with me?" And he said, "I don't like Bruce Springsteen. I don't like stadium seats. They're not good for my back. I don't want to go." And then I will tell you that my husband he does everything for me, any physical thing, just to try to make my life a
yeah,
little better. So a little over a month before, and he travels a lot. And one night in December, a month before the trip or so, I'm in bed and he's packing for his trip the next morning and he's so efficient. And then I thought, wait, look at him packing. Wait, why isn't he going with me? And I got up, and I stood in the middle of the room, and I looked up at him. I said, "Andy, you would do anything for me. You always do. Why is it you have the time off, you're on sabbatical. Why is it you won't go with me to Australia?" And he looked at me, and then he said, "Okay, I'll go." And for one really infinitesimal moment, I looked up at him. I'm picturing us running from airport to airport, this and that. He'd be exhausted. He doesn't like Bruce Springsteen. He won't be able to do his work. And I thought to myself, I'm going to have enough trouble taking care of me. I can't also be worrying about him. And I just looked up at him and I said, "That's okay. I'll go alone." He would have gone, but I just couldn't, at that point, I just couldn't have that responsibility.
sure. That makes sense. Okay. So you've gotten your travel agent. So, by the way, I remember this tour and I was going into work one Saturday and I saw the owner of our company parked and he had come in on a Saturday. And I remember thinking, if I had as much money as him, I would not be coming to work on a Saturday. And maybe that's why I'll never be that rich. But Bruce Springsteen's in Australia. I would take an extended vacation and just go because you'd get to see New Zealand, Australia, a part of the world I'd never seen, and see all these shows. Gosh, that's a dream. And so I immediately was like, "Oh, this sounds perfect." How did you work out tickets, Anne?
Well, that actually was a problem at first because I got the travel agent, that was all worked out, and then we went to StubHub to get tickets and we couldn't get them. So it was starting to look like maybe I wasn't going to go. And then one of my husband's colleagues, his son was some kind of ticket broker, so he put us in touch with someone. And I remember it was a Friday, and the guy said, "There's a holiday in Australia, this whatever, but by Monday I should be able to tell you." So this guy saved the day. But it turns out There's an international stub hub, and we just didn't know about it. And we
Okay.
were just new to all of this, you know.
Sure. I don't know that either.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so there's a way you can do it, but we didn't know it at the time.
Okay. So
But and I
I
want to stop you when you say see the world. No, you know what I said to the travel agent? All I want to do is work out, see 8 concerts, and then, which I wasn't surprised, and then out of the blue, I said, and write. I have writer's block. I hadn't thought about writing in the 5 years I'd been teaching, but somehow while I was thinking about this trip on the way home that last day, my instinct to be happy or my will to be happy had bubbled up and reminded me that I wanted to write. So those are and she kept trying to sell me penguin tours and king, all this stuff. And I'm like, no. And I said, all I want to do, and I said, and besides, I love being a fly on the wall. It turned out I stayed in 4 of the hotels, the same hotel as Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band. So I go to Whole Foods and sit in the parking lot and watch people, and I love it. Now I was in these hotels and I am invisible. I would be
yeah,
sit down next to Tom Morello and Max Weinberg, our shoulders touching, and they wouldn't even know I was there. I was just like a little ghost or a spirit. It was amazing watching these people, overhearing their conversation. I remember once, I think it was Tom Morello said to Max Weinberg, he came into the bar after the last concert and said, you were 5 beats off in the fifth or something like that. It was just like these snippets of things that I heard from me as a fly on a wall. It was just
yeah.
fascinating.
So I'm curious, did you do homework? In other words, listening to a lot of Bruce music before the trip.
No, I listened to Wrecking Ball at that time when I was working out. I used to listen to Wrecking. No, I don't do homework. I showed
Okay.
up at that first concert in Adelaide, and I remember they did all these Good Golly Miss Molly, which was great. Devil with the Blue, because these were songs I knew from my husband. And I remember thinking, oh, Bruce Springsteen is trying to help me feel, bring
Yeah.
me into the fold. He's like these familiar songs. And then he's saying the encore, If I Should Fall Behind, which would, oh my God, I'd never heard that song before. It was the most beautiful song I had ever heard.
I think it's one of the best songs about marriage and love and
Mhm.
friendship that he's written. I agree.
And so I didn't need to do homework, but boy, when I was there at these concerts, I was listening and watching on every dimension. I was dancing, I was having fun, but part of my brain was watching the band members. Oh my God, I learned so much watching, see how they communicate. I would just watch on so many different levels and behind the scenes. And I got quite an edgy from the first concert to the last. I became very savvy about what was going on. I got quite an education.
Were did you and I'm curious, did you talk to people in queue in line? Did you visit people?
Oh, that's great. I try to talk to people, my seatmates,
Yeah,
and I would be so excited. So, like at, like in Melbourne, so I sit down. I'd say this. I have 2 stories, and
please.
I'm like, oh my God, and I would start going nuts, like how great he was. And I felt a little paranoid, like I was a single 60-year-old woman. My wedding band had broken, so I didn't have a ring on that. But I just felt
Yeah,
I wish so at least they'd know one person. I was connected to one person. But then at this other concert in Melbourne, and I had just had a horrible thing happen with me and my son. I was in a terrible frame of mind. I almost didn't go, but I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go. I can always leave. This will be a test to Bruce Springsteen's magic. And I go there. And there was this 80-year-old man sitting next to me when I get there, and he was with his son. I said, oh, have you ever been to a Bruce Springsteen concert? No. I said, oh, you're not going to believe this is going to be great. And Bruce Springsteen comes out and he just spiraled down and he just sits down on the stage and he's moaning about this and that. I look at this man, and he goes, this is not impressive. And then this is in the book. It was amazing. And I don't know if maybe at first I thought maybe I'm projecting myself. And then he was just really, and he said, if you had told me an hour ago that I was going to be here now, I would never believe you. And we all sit down.
yeah,
And then he just started because this is what a magician, he's a magician. To me, he's a magician.
yes. That's
And
his
he,
magic trick, as he talks
yes, and
about.
he's down there and you're down there, and all of a sudden he starts talking a little faster and a little faster, and then he's standing, and then you're all standing. And at the end of the concert, this man looked at me, he said, "This was an experience of a lifetime." So I get the chills just remembering that.
Yeah,
This man is such a magician. Oh my God. I actually have a reading that I love from the book
please.
about that.
Do you want to share it?
Yeah. So I had 8 concerts in Australia, and the riding to the eighth concert. So here it is. Riding to the eighth concert, I told myself there could only be a finite number of ways Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band could present and perform their High Hopes tour songs. I didn't think they would be able to add a new or novel twist to this final concert in Australia. I knew, of course, that Springsteen wasn't going to come out on stage and mechanically run through a set list of songs from the album mixed with sign requests from the audience. I knew he would make sure that all 12,000 of us in the audience had a good time. But I had never heard of an extraordinary baseball player hitting a grand slam or even a home run every time he went to bat. Bruce Springsteen was an extraordinary performer, but I didn't expect him to hit a musical grand slam or even a musical home run every time he took to the stage. Not every night had to be spellbinding, but that's the thing about magic, the thing about Bruce Springsteen. One moment you're sitting with your feet on the ground, your butt in the chair, thinking about what you're going to eat after the concert, what you're going to do the next morning. Then Bruce Springsteen appears on stage. And when he does, you jump to your feet, you clap, you dance, you jump, you sway, goosebumps pop up all over you. You're not thinking about the past moment. You're not thinking about the next moment. You're simply and wholly in each and every moment, following every footstep, every heel tap, every strum, every word, every muscle ripple of the man with the smile. Sometimes beatific, sometimes mischievous, sometimes mournful, sometimes soulful. As you follow this man with the smile, as he anchors you to each moment, he's also anchoring himself to you. You do not feel alone. Feelings blossom up from deep down within you. Some make you gleeful, some make you sorrowful, some make you wondrous. You don't think about why you feel these ways. It doesn't occur to you to break out of the moment to try to understand what's happening to you. It's enough that you are in this place at this time with this man, with these people, ensconced in this feeling. You do not think that you have been cast under a magnificent spell, a spell that awakens every single cell in your body, a spell that fills every single cell in your body with pulsating life. You're not thinking about feeling alive. You are alive. You are alive in the here and now. You are alive with this man, with these people. You want for nothing. You have it all. And that to me is the magic of a Bruce Springsteen concert.
Yeah. As you went through these 8 shows, were there songs you picked up and that you started looking forward to?
Yes, there are a lot. I mentioned Dream Baby Dream. If I Should Fall Behind was another transcendent. There were some that were very. One night he came out on the stage and he's going back. And this is in 2014, before his memoir came out. I didn't know he suffered with depression or whatever. He comes
Yeah,
out on stage and he's going back and forth, saying, "How do you get through the day? How do you get through the day and stay alive inside?" It was a lead into Spirit in the Night. And I
yeah,
thought, wow, if Bruce Springsteen can say this to an arena full of fans, I must not be the only one feeling like this. It's okay to struggle. It's okay to struggle
yeah,
and to try it and try again. He was validating. And then another night, 10th Avenue Freeze Out. It took me a while to figure out the words to that. And I'll never forget the concert where he says, "It's all right to have a good time." And I remember thinking, yes, it's 100% okay for me to have fun. Finally, after 60 years, it was like a light bulb went off. Yes, it's okay for me to have fun. I had never done the 3-letter F word until I went to my first Bruce Springsteen concert, but that was another moment where it just hit me. I mean, there's so many songs that were good.
yeah. Like that. It's no sin to be glad you're alive, and the
Yes,
idea, right, to
exactly.
say
Yes.
it's okay. The other thing, right, like a classic, I can't promise you life ever
Oh, I
after,
love that.
but
Oh
I
my
can
God.
promise you life right
Yes,
now.
Yes, that is the best, that line. I love that line. It's so true. It's
Yes.
so true. Yeah.
Yeah, Annie, when people ask me that are non-Bruce fans, what's your favorite Bruce Springsteen song? I always say Land of Hope and Dreams because I love that song. And then Better Days. And Better Days is because I think that song is about you have to realize you can't just say when the kids get out of diapers, then I'll enjoy being a parent. When I get the
Mhm.
promotion I want, then I'll be happy. It's the little things in the days. These are the better days you go through this. So I love that. So I feel thrilled after I go to a show, and then I have a post-concert depression
Oh no.
because it's over and
No,
I
I
want to
know.
go again.
The
S-
best part of the spring, you're standing there that split second before he comes out on stage, and then
Yes.
God, it's all ahead of you. It's all ahead
Yes,
of
it's all over
you.
here. Yes. And only once I went to a show in Jersey and it was a 4 hour show and I was exhausted. My son was with me. And for the first time ever, I was like, no, I can't. Don't do another one.
No, I
Don't do
have,
another one. Yeah.
yeah.
Was there, you've had this once in a lifetime trip? You've gone to the 8 shows, you're heading home. Did you have a post trip dip or it your battery was so charged?
No, I'll tell you what happened. It was a life-changing trip. The transformation that began when I took that trip at the age of 60 continues today. And what happened, I didn't go on this trip to change. I just went for some structure.
Right.
But I came home a different person. For the first time in my life, when I came home from Australia, I had a positive ball of energy and a story about me that I was proud of, a story I wanted to tell. Remember, I could never write about myself, but I
Sure.
could, and I came home. All I wanted to do was tell all these stories. And everyone, all my friends in Philadelphia, all they wanted to do was see me as this depressed person. No one would see this me that had come home. And I will tell you, my husband who was at the Wharton School, he'd been feeling unappreciated for 2 years, and I'd been ignoring him because I had my own problems. I
Yeah.
came home and I said, "You've got to get out of here. They have to." He in fight or flight, I fight and he does flight, but he got himself quit. It took no time. He got a visiting scholar position at the University of Chicago. We moved to Chicago after this trip. It was only supposed to be for 4 months. We arrived there in January. You live in Chicago?
I live in Dallas, Texas, but I
Oh,
can
okay. I thought
imagine.
you, okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's 8 degrees there in January. Why don't, I didn't
Yeah.
know what I was. He went off to work. My dog walker comes in and I say, "What are you doing? You're not walking dogs." And she said, "I host a storytelling open mic. There's a string of them across the city. And I also tell stories at the Moth." Now, I had never heard of storytelling. I had never heard of the Moth, but I knew I had one story to tell.
You
So
had a hell of a story to tell.
I had never stood in front of a mic or on a stage. I inched my way. I started going to open mics. I was terrified, but one thing about me, I don't let fear ever stop me, or I wouldn't have gone to Australia. So I start going to open mics and trying to tell this little story, not little, the story. And then a friend takes me to the Moth, and when we get there, he says, "You have to put your name in to tell a story." And I was terrified, but I did it. I got called. I go up, I tell this 5 minute story about Australia, and I won. And afterwards, people had so many questions that eventually that inspired me to write this book, High Hopes. And then we would never have gone to Chicago if I hadn't gone to Australia. And once I got to Chicago, I was never going back to Philadelphia. I loved Chicago. It was a little cold. So we ended up moving to New York. And like I've just been ever since I went on that trip. I've been baby stepping my way, doing. I am now I have over 700,000 followers on social media. I do these. I had another book come out last year, and the publisher said, "You've got to go on social media to promote the book." I didn't know what, so I had Facebook 15 years ago. My
Yeah.
dog, a new dog walker here in New York, he said, "Anyone who does social media," she gave me the name of a friend. He was a 19-year-old computer science major. I now call him Maestro or Steven Spielberg. And we've had 22 viral videos since November. But it's all story. It's the storytelling.
Yeah.
This all started because I went outside my comfort zone, went to Australia, pushed myself out. I
Yeah,
did that, and I've just been pushed. I live outside my comfort zone, but that's me. It's,
you are a badass.
I don't know. I'm just trying to do the best I can.
Yeah, I love that. I love the idea of you, and I don't want to say you've reinvented yourself, but you found your
I
voice.
found my voice. I always wanted to be part of a conversation. Do you know when I came back here in Australia, I met I just happened to start talking to this woman. It turned out it was Barbara Carr, his Bruce Springsteen's manager. She told me
Yeah,
of 30, 40. Anyhow, she invited me to this event here in New York, and I came and I won this co-hosting gig on East Street Radio. And it was her husband, but Dave Marsh. I don't know if you ever,
sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
well, I listened to him. He was terrifying when I listened to him, I was so afraid he was going to crush me. So I
yeah,
spent 4 months teaching myself everything I could learn about music. I started with rock.
yeah.
And I went on that show and it was great. It was like this, I was part of this conversation and that was the beginning. That was one more. I came back with this Bruce Springsteen energy and I was determined not to lose it. And people
Wow.
who depleted it, I got rid of them. That was a very conscious decision. If these people were not going to support me with this energy, they were out.
I love that. Why did you, with this story, let's talk about the previous book. Let's share a little bit about what that was.
Yeah.
Why you talk a little bit about it and how did that come about?
Okay. I started writing High Hopes in 2018.
Yeah,
I had a few back surgeries. It wasn't a full-time thing. And then during the lockdown, an editor had it and it was taking her forever. It was the lockdown. And a friend of mine kept saying, write about Milo. That was this rescue dog I had inadvertently gotten. He was a terror. He was biting. He was a wild animal. I knew nothing about dogs, but
yeah.
I did not have the heart to give him back. I knew no one, we were the third family in 18 months, we found out. And I believe that no one asks to be born. And some of us are born and people take care of us, and some of us are born and we aren't taken such good care of. And
Hmm.
I didn't know if I could live with Milo, but I didn't think I needed to try or I wouldn't be able to live with myself. So
Yeah.
in the end, of course, I fell in love with Milo and I ended up writing this. So while I'm waiting for them, the editor to get back, I find 50 pages I had written about Milo right after he died 15 years earlier. And I quickly had a beginning, middle, and end. And I thought, this book is easy. This book is more straightforward. I'm going to try to get this one out into the world. And then I'll go
Hmm.
back and work on High Hopes. So that's what
Yeah.
I did. So Milo, and Me came out last April, and this one's coming out on Bruce Springsteen's 76th birthday. And it's a good thing
Nice.
I did the other because this one has lyrics. I got licensing for it. It was such a much more complicated book than the other one. I
Hmm.
actually got licensing for 17 sets of lyrics.
That is awesome. What's next, Ann? What do you want to do next?
I really want to get High Hopes out into the world. It's my favorite kind of story in that it's a story about people helping people without even knowing it.
Yeah.
This man, Bruce Springsteen, who didn't even know I exist. And the people in Australia helped me.
Yeah.
They I'm writing a third memoir titled She Tried and She Tried, because I used to tell my kids I want that on my tombstone because I do try. I try so hard. I will do anything. I'm very disciplined. The only non-negative word my parents ever used for me was persevering, and I will
Yeah.
do anything if I think it might move me forward or help someone somehow.
Hmm.
And I'm going to Japan. I hate to travel, but we went to Paris. My husband was giving a paper, so we went there to do posts from Paris.
Yeah.
Talk about getting out of your comfort zone. I think we're going to go to Japan. So I'm 72. I'll be 73. And look, it's crazy. If you had told me a year ago any of this was happening, I would have thought you were nuts.
So this is actually, that reminds me, do you think about going back to and you could pick an age, 14 or 15-year-old
Oh,
Anne, and telling her, you have no idea what you're capable of doing?
no, you know what? What I would say is not quite to answer that.
Yeah.
I said to my husband the other day, now let's remember, I'm severely depressed. I said to my husband, I'm
Yes.
72 now. I said, sometimes I think I don't have enough time. So for someone who my whole life, I just wished I could just disappear from this world. If I could, if no leave behind nobody sad, that was my dream. If I could just disappear. That
Mhm.
was, and now I get these moments where I think, oh no, I don't have enough. I don't know for what, but I just think I don't have enough time. So as I said that to my husband, he said, that's the opposite of depression. So that's that's remarkable. And you know what's really remarkable about Bruce Springsteen? My mother, whenever I would be happy about anything, my kid, she would just put a pin in the balloon. So I got really good. If I would get happy about something, I got really good at just telling myself I was stupid and a loser. But the fact that I could sustain, that Bruce Springsteen's magic could sustain me for so long, that was just phenomenal. I tried to, on this trip, I'd say, oh, he's just in a bad mood. I'd say, oh, he's just a money-making machine. He doesn't care about people. You're gullible to be following him. But that didn't last long. And it was just remarkable to me that his magic was so strong that even I couldn't put, my mother, I could not put a pin in it. And that's remarkable.
Yeah. So the name of the book, High Hopes by Anne Abel. When will it be out?
September 23rd, it's coming up.
And that, as you said, that's Bruce's book. Um,
76th birthday.
yeah, I have started it and I adore it. And I adore it even more after getting to meet you.
Oh, thank you so much.
I
Thank
just
you.
love this so much. All right, in a few minutes, I'm going to ask you for how they can reach you and final thoughts. But I end every podcast with what I call the Mary question. And but no, before I do that, you've gone through your journey. When you read the biography, I assume you read Bruce's biography. As someone who has fought depression your whole life, what did it mean when this man who opened your heart for joy shared that with you?
That wasn't what struck. I actually listened to the audiobook, which he
Yeah.
narrates, which is pretty amazing.
Yes, it is.
And I'll tell you, it wasn't the depression that hit me, it was just the beauty of the words. It was
Yeah,
just so beautifully written, and then he narrated it. It was just like it was like music.
it was. It really was. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was my takeaway was just how
Okay.
it was ethereal. It just
Yeah.
made me feel good. And I don't wish he was depressed, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Did you make any shows of the latest tours?
Did I what?
Did you go to any shows in the past few tours?
I saw him after the pandemic at
Yeah.
Madison Square Garden. I saw him here. Yes.
Nice. Very good. All right. The Mary question is pretty simple. Jay Armstrong, who is an honors English teacher in the Philadelphia area, would give his students the lyrics to Thunder Road, and the students would read it, and then he would ask his class, do you think Mary gets in the car? So, Anne, that's your question. Do you think Mary gets in the car?
Yes, I didn't even think it was a question. I thought it was so obvious. And
Very nice.
can I just say, when he
Please.
sang that at the end, I think it was one of the last songs at my last concert in tears. And I felt, and maybe everyone feels like I was Mary and he had taken my hand and brought me to Australia, the promised land. But then I was ready now to say goodbye and go off on my own. But I really felt like he had taken my hand and brought me to Australia, and I had just become grown so much over that trip, and I was ready to let go and go off on my own. That was
Okay. All right. The book is available for pre-order. Go pre-order it. I don't care if it's hard copy. I don't care if it's by Kindle. Just you need to read
the
this book.
audiobook's going to be really good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That's cool. Where can people reach you? And any final thoughts?
Okay, you can reach me on TikTok you can follow me on TikTok, Facebook, or Instagram and YouTube, but it's at my name, Anne, my middle name, Sima, my last name, Abel. So Anne Abel. And AnneAbelAuthor.com is my website. And final
Okay.
thoughts? You want a final thought?
Yes. If you have one, it's okay
I
if
would
you don't.
say just always try to be open, even if you're in a situation whether you're going to a concert you don't really want to be, if you're there, just be in the moment wherever and just take it in. You never know what's going to impact you.
Does your daughter-in-law think you're pretty awesome now since she's a second generation?
I'd say I've surpassed,
Yes,
you
I
know,
bet you have. That is so wonderful. All right, the book available September 23rd, High Hopes, a memoir by Anne Abel. I will include the link to her website. I will include the link for the book. Guys, you got to get this one. Not only is it a great story about and one of the things I talk about, Anne, is I do this podcast and I believe in the power and the magic of music, the power and the magic of Bruce. And I think you are a living testament to that.
I'm not, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even want to think what would have happened if my son hadn't married that woman. If I don't even want to think about that. And he also was the one who got the dog, so I wouldn't have
Yeah.
had. You just be open. I don't know.
You are a doll. I
Oh, thank
appreciate
you.
you. Anything I can do to help promote the book, please let me know.
All right.
I'd
Well,
love to have you visit any other time. And thank you so much for your time tonight. Listeners, check out the book. Sign up, go to the website, let her know you heard about it on Set Lusting Bruce. Everyone, be safe, be kind, find joy, and we'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.